Hey everybody, it's Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and today I'm going to show you how you can create a sea turtle swimming underwater. Now, how this is going to work is I'm going to paint a thing, and then you're going to paint that thing as I've demonstrated. I'm going to paint a thing, you're going to paint a thing, I'm going to paint a thing, you're going to paint a thing. We're going to do that through steps, and at the end, we're both going to have a gorgeous sea turtle painting together. On the mic is my husband, John.
Hello.
He has been my co-host for years.
For a couple of them, yes.
Like through our whole marriage and now through the show. And what John's going to do is he's going to make sure that I'm looking in the right direction because we got a new camera setup going here and that the camera is pointing at the work so that when I'm demonstrating or explaining a technique or showing you a color mix or a tool, you are really able to see it. And that ability to see it and understand it helps you follow along. Another thing that we have to help you guys follow along. Oh, I see Ramona is wanting to know how John's doing, and I will definitely give you guys an update.
Oh, yeah.
This is the live stream. The other thing that we do to make it easy for you guys is that we have it traceable on the website. No, it's not cheating. I will demonstrate how to sketch the turtle and really in step one, but if drawing is just not something you're comfortable with, I wouldn't want that to be a reason you don't do the painting. And believe it or not, drawing is just a skill set of painting, and it's not the entry one, interestingly enough. So you can actually paint and not draw yet, though I do highly encourage drawing because it's fun. But again, sometimes we had traumatic experiences in grade school and we don't draw as adults, and it takes us a minute to get back into that safe space to just be creative for creative sakes. How are you doing today, babe?
Good.
So Ramona asked how you're doing.
Good. I have more issue from my editing carpal tunnel finger than I do from anything else.
Yeah, John came out of that really great for at least so far.
So, yeah, it's good.
We know sometimes injuries show up later, and we're going to keep checking back. But really, the car itself did not come out okay at all. So for as rough as the car was, John came out pretty well. It was like my parents had that weird accident 2 years ago, and their car was just completely wrecked, and yet they walked away. It was just extraordinary that they were okay.
I'm only sad that I've been looking forward to the turtle.
I am looking forward to the turtle.
I
So I've been just in a mood. I know we got a lot of turtles. I put a turtle playlist together because now we have enough turtles for a playlist. So sometimes I paint a topic so much that it becomes a playlist, and you have many lessons that range in medium and in difficulty levels. So if today is like, ooh, this was fun but hard, I got a one hoot turtle painting in there that's just silhouette turtles that teaches you gradation and how to build in shapes. It's short. I had a cold when I filmed it, and we did it at the YouTube studio. So it sounds like I'm talking to you like this while we paint turtles together. But if you can hang with that, it's a good lesson. All right, let's go over the materials. It's so good to see Phyllis and Stephanie Nolan and Sinisa and Nicola and Linda Harvey. Oh my goodness, Tammy E. Constance. It's been a minute since we've been live, so I'm excited to be here. Let's go over the. This is a Art Alternatives canvas. This is their economic line, and it's actually been a good line. I like them for a series of reasons. The Art Alternatives classic art, and then this one, I like Ampersand. I like Frederick's. There's canvases out there that are good. Masterpiece is good. So, the quality of canvas can make a difference, but we're going to be doing some work on paper soon too. So I'm going to show you guys how to paint on paper.
Yeah.
All right. The paint tubes, I didn't put all the paint out because I don't know how bad my new environment's going to dry out. So I thought, I'll put out my paint tubes. We'll go over the colors and then I'll put them out as I need them. And this is what I would do in my own studio if I wasn't, I usually put all my paint out at the beginning. I don't do that when I'm painting on my own because that would let the paint dry out before I need it. And I know what I'm going to, but today, so you're going to see it a little more like how I do it on my own. So I've got titanium white. I've got cad red medium. I have yellow ochre, cad yellow medium, burnt sienna, phthalo green, phthalo blue, ultramarine blue, Mars black, a bucket of water, a paper towel to wipe off my brushes as I work, and a nice cup of coffee. Let's bring it together, guys. Let's have a little sip.
Oh, yeah. I get a sip too.
The microwave is too far from my desk.
We'll need to make some adjustments.
We need to give you guys an update video soon. We know that. It's just, man, we're barely updated ourselves. We just need things to be stable for 2 weeks.
Yes, give us a moment to breathe.
For 2 weeks, and then maybe we'll have some idea, because, man, every day I get up and there's an email and it means my world is something different. It's so crazy.
I can almost assure
if you're coming to the retreat, we had somebody that couldn't make it because of family stuff, and so they're going to make the next one. So we have an opening. So if you'd like to come paint with my mom and I at the retreat in Pennsylvania.
Yep, the Delaware Water Gap.
Delaware Water Gap, man, you got to come do it, because it's going to be fall. It's going to be gorgeous, and we're opening a new segment. I talked with Donna today and got that confirmed. So we're going to have a consulting back and forth play day. Where you can ask me questions and everything. So on top of structured lessons, we've got some free time. Okay. Games, things like that. It's going to be super fun.
So we're not yet on step one.
We're not on step one. We're just putting the paint to the side that I know that I'm going to use. Now, I'm going to switch to my notes and my references. John is going to ask me questions from the live chat during the show. If you have a question in the live chat, put it all in caps. And we will try to get to it. If for some reason we don't see it, the mods don't catch it and answer it, or John and I miss it, just put it in the comments after the show. And I would love if you guys left me a comment after the show and let me know if you had fun today, what it was like, how you're doing. That would be fantastic. I would just love to see how your guys are doing. And I'm going to get back on to my work time. Now, I have divided my canvas in half at the halfway point vertically and horizontally. And I do that. You can put up a step one, John. I'm going to put out Phthalo Blue. That's this right here. This right here at the top is some Phthalo Blue. Do we see that? Now, I'm going to sketch my turtle in with Phthalo Blue. Why am I doing that? Because you can see it. That's 100% the reason why. You know what I did not bring down, John? It's good vision glasses. My green good vision glasses are upstairs near my computer.
I'll go see what I can find.
Okay. But I'm going to take this brush. This is a new brush. I'm actually looking for a really good round with a good point to replace my red handle round. And this was one that had come up in my searching. This is a Raphael Sepia brush. And I'm going to come here in the upper right quadrant of my canvas. And I'm going to loosely sort of sketch out with a dry brush the kind of generalized shape and scale that my turtle is going to take. Now, if you'll note, if you go into my, it might need to be a little further up. Like, let's give him a little more scale. If you go into the turtle playlist, you're going to notice that all the turtles have a similar flair, but are a little bit different. I find that every time I do a turtle, I don't make turtle clones. I make turtle family. So every time I sketch it, it will be a little different and yet the same. And the reason I'm telling you guys this is that you should know that yours isn't meant to look like a clone of my painting. It's meant to look like we belong to the same species. We're similar. We all are quadrupeds and such. These are my See Good close glasses. Oh, that's lovely. I may do this for a second. I don't normally do green on green screen glasses, but that's what I has.
I have the green screen programming so that it does the
we're gonna
analysis.
On a turtle head, we want kind of a flat slope, and then it's gonna kind of angle in, and it comes down to this really terrific beak. I think I've made his head a little bit bigger, but I don't dislike that, so I'm inclined to not change it. I'm gonna bring a little bit of his shell down. I love the fins because they tend to be interesting to paint in patterns. I'm just using my paint as a little sketching guide. And the reason that I chose blue is because since the background is blue, these sketches will tend to disappear into the background. I'm in my lower right-hand quadrant now, and I'm just sort of sketching the bow and bend of the little front fin because they have these little front fins. Right? And they're pretty substantial little fins, right? And the reason for that is that they got to swim far. These things are super busy little creatures. and kind of bring that up into the shell. And then because of that, we know this fin here is going to take up a lot of our canvas. It's really in this wonderful sort of close to us perspective. And I'm going to bring a little bend up. And then there's a bend up into his body where the fin attaches, and that's where that joint is. And so sometimes as artists, we will pay attention to that. I'm considering, I don't have my kids on the show very much. I'm going to bring this up here. I'm going to come upwards into the canvas and then slope back, and I will try to edge up my brush up and down, as you can see, to sort of talk about the little rough little things of that. I think that that's what it is that I turned all the sound off, but it still is giving me a little sound, and I'm hearing myself an echo. I'm like saying, going crazy.
That happens.
And I was about to be like, John, I think there's just too much echo in this house. All right. So we're going to bring a little bit of the shell forward, and then that shell tends to come here in a plate. So I do want to delineate that because that'll be an important part of his little body. Now, what's great is that we're going to bring the belly back here at an angle to through this lower left area up towards the middle, ending a little bit past the middle of the other quarter. So we're just holding that there. And then we can really even start to just talk about a fin that's going to come off here and rejoin over here. And it's a loose sketch. By the way, a lot of times in painting, you move lines and you change sketches as you paint in, which is why I'm always like, yeah, the traceable isn't cheating, because by the time you get these structure lines in and then you paint everything in, you will have painted away every one of these lines. Okay, so now I'm going to bring, I think I'll get this a little bit wet again on this round. I'm going to come here and you do want to get to the place in life where you can sketch in paint, but it's not a necessary thing for you to start out there. It does help you learn to see objects and be a little more confident in the choices that you're making when you're doing objects. Yes, again, you will get family members, not clones, but honestly, in painting, that's sort of more what you want. I'm just kind of letting myself know where this little scale or roll of the shell is, because I find that can be helpful. I'm going to come up at a bit of a curve, a bit of a upward line towards the left. And then I'm going to bank this down into his little back. And then I think I'll move this little fin back a little bit further. And this way he's taking up that shell in a cool way. Then the other thing that I want to do is I want to come here, and you'll notice that when I use the darker blue, it helps create kind of a new line. So that's how I do this in paint. But again, you would do yours in chalk or pencil, or use the transfer method with the traceable. I think that I do want that mouth to go up a little more, so I'm going to kind of tell myself that there. I'm going to say, hey, there's a little eye here. And if there's an eye here, there's one there. And there's where his little nose is going to be. And that lets me know if I have ample room for the shell and, you know, if I'm in a good space. And I think that that's all I really need for him to get in. And you can see he's loose, he's sketchy, he's chill. He's not serious here. He doesn't need to be.
No, he's very cool.
That's the thing to understand, is that your sketches can be, and we've done this as a process, very detailed, and you can do a tonal sketch, which is a grisaille, which is a type of underpainting technique, and with lots of details, and those values can really help you. Or you can do what's, a loose sketch, which is what we've done here, and block in color, and then the piece comes together as we work, and we can make adjustments as we work. There isn't one that's better than the other. They're just different ways of accomplishing the goal, and then you as an artist at home, you decide what works for you. Let me put out some more paint, and you can ask me any questions that I have, John.
Let's see here. Before we go on to the next step. So we're not doing Facebook and YouTube at the same time right now.
Right now we are not.
But we may be doing that in the future.
We're hoping to do that in the future. Did someone ask about that?
Yes.
Yes.
Can we do a Shark for Shark Week?
When is Shark Week?
It's coming up soon.
I don't know, but maybe. Now, we have a whole 7 paintings that we did for Shark Week. We did a whole Shark Week one year.
Now, keep in mind, there is a shark running from its ever-loving sharky fins because this turtle is saying not today.
Well, sometimes the turtles do say
they
not
do.
today.
They chase the little sharks
and
away.
we certainly wish that all the little wildlife out in the ocean is doing just good and super happy and healthy and okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm going to add a little bit. Now, this can make it sometimes challenging for you guys. So,
what canvas is this again? Just
this is an 11 by 14 Art Alternatives economic canvas.
And real quick, Patty,
not the classic cotton. I like the classic cotton too.
Okay, Patty was asking, is primary yellow the same as cad yellow? I also have deep yellow. I think that there's a yellow exchange question happening.
I would actually, if it were like me and I had primary yellow and deep yellow sitting in my bucket and I was trying to get to cad yellow, I probably would, if my deep yellow was really biased red, to get to the cad medium that I use, I might mix primary with my deep, half and half on the palette with a palette knife, and then that might tune me in a little closer to cad. But primary yellow is fairly close to cad yellow medium. It's why they used Hansa yellow for primary yellow a bunch of times, and they also use Hansa yellow. They used to use it for cad yellow hue. So they can kind of go back and forth, but I find it's just a little warmer than that, which is why I like to mix the two. If you wanted to know that, and I hope that you did because you asked that question and I answered it. All right, I'll tell you guys where I have put out the paint. We will paint over and into our turtle a little bit. That's a strategy that we can do that will give us lots and lots of wonderful results. I'm going to get a big brush out. I like a big brush.
I think we're ready for step 2.
Yes.
Step 2.
All right, so in step 2, I'm going to be using probably mostly my number 20 Artini Hog Bristle Brush by Raphael. Now, this is a brush that's made of hog bristles. That's from a pig. That's the hairs on a pig. And they're made a special way where the curve of the hair all curves in, and there's something called flagged and interlocked, and it's all very, very nice. This is just something that I like as an artist. You don't have to have this brush for this technique. The brush shape is called a bright. So any kind of square or bright or brush that you're confident painting big and strong brush strokes with should work. But that's what I'm using exactly. Now up here in the corner, I'm noticing, I'm going to load my, let me go over the paint. I've got titanium white, cad yellow medium, phthalo green, phthalo blue. I put the 2 phthalos next to each other, and over here to the right is the ultramarine blue. And I'm going to come here and sort of just begin my corner with some white, interestingly enough. And then I'm going to take a little bit of my phthalo blue and phthalo green and a smidge of yellow. I might even exaggerate what I have and really, oh, look at that aqua up. And I've loosely mixed it here. As you can see, I took a little bit of that cad yellow into the green with the blue and the white. And I'm working wet into wet with loose, unstructured, unorganized strokes. Right? Like I'm barely connecting the brush. Sometimes I'm just using from the toe to the tip of the toe. And I'm just trying to make sure that we have lots of energetic and loose brush strokes. And I may come up into the fin a bit because I know I can paint my fin over it. Up into the chin a bit. I'll put my eye back. I'll remember. Don't let me forget my eye, John. Don't let me forget. And I'm going to just keep kind of pushing this in. And what's nice about this is that the roughness of the brushstroke, I just got a little bit wet. I went onto the paper towel. The niceness of the brushstroke and its rough kind of aspect lets you be very playful and is one of those things that you can do early fairly well as a beginner. Now I'm going to come up here and kind of pull some white down into it. See, I'm just grabbing thick white. Doing this sort of wet into wet. And this is also giving my painting some energy, isn't it? A little bit of phthalo blue and phthalo green. I'm being very rough with my brush. And that's the other reason I like the hog bristles, is because it lends itself to things being a little bit rough to it and a little bit abusive on the canvas, a little bit. Arrgh. This area of white that we're adding in, it is the light that's coming in through the water. So even though we're painting it fairly abstractly, fairly expressively, we still know what it is. I'm going to take a little bit of green and yellow. Kind of come down here and add a bit of that green. Isn't that a pop of wonder? The little pop of green there?
It really is. I like it. It adds some life to the white water.
It does. Let's bring a little bit of it across here. Loosely using the corner of our brush, we're dancing around. All right, let's call that a step. Don't be too picky with the step. Okay. I've rinsed my brush off and I'm drying it off with my paint towel. And that's a lot of how I control this brush, is I control the water in it because it tends to hold a lot of water. So I use a towel to pull out any extra water that wiping it off doesn't take care of. Do we have any questions while we're continuing on to the next step, sir?
Let's see here. Everyone's just wishing you well, first of all. And they're trying to find out, is this a premiere or a live? This is definitely live.
This is live. Hi, this is live. We're live. Not a premiere. It's not. So sometimes we do premieres, but the chat is live. That means we do a complicated painting and we pre-record it. And generally those release with the mini book. Those are secret resources that are not so secret that we release to the community. They're not mini books. They're sample chapters, because now we produce actual books on Amazon. Mm-hmm. We have to call the individual instructions sample chapters because sometimes they become chapters to a bigger book, but we let y'all download them early. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of times premieres have those recorded ahead of time. On lives like this, they come out after, whenever we get a chance to do them. Okay, let's keep going. I'm going to take a little bit of my phthalo blue and my ultramarine blue, and I'm going to kind of come back from this backside of Mr. Turtle Pants and bring that in. And I will come pretty far up into his body. I'll have to put him back a little bit. I can see that I will, but that's okay. And let's push this in. See how I'm being very light with the brush? I'm not pressing down hard, and that's how I'm getting that nice fun integration. And I'm getting a little bit of blue. Blues can be a little bit transparent, so I tend to reconcile myself to the idea that I might have to do 2 coats.
2 coats is not the worst.
It's just not, especially with this blue. You could add black now to deepen it, to not have to do it, but I don't want to add black, so I'm not gonna.
It does seem to add a lot of dimensionality.
I feel that it does. Any new questions for me as I'm painting this phthalo blue and ultramarine blue around the turtle? I'm going to add white as I come forward. Right about through here, I'll start adding white.
Carlita loves your explanations.
Oh, gosh, thank you so much. I have to tell you guys, I've been in a weird space. I'm okay. If you followed me for a while, you know that I have mental health stuff like many of us do. And sometimes I go through cycles where I can really question, oh gosh, everything in a given day, everything. I question everything. John's very patient with it.
We all, have things.
We all have things, but it can be really like where you just go from like feeling very confident to just like not feeling any confidence at all. I'm adding a little white to my phthalo blue, and I'm going to start blending that back in. You can see as I'm coming down towards the lower right there, just brushing back and forth, and I'm blending that back in with a little bit of white. And then I'm going to go back over Phthalo Green, Phthalo Blue, little bit of white. And I think that might do a couple coats as well. Remember, you can go far into your lines if you're confident putting them back. You can see that I am making sure that the canvas is thoroughly covered with paint. I'm kind of what's scruffling it in almost with a very rough brush stroke. I think I'm going to come back through here and loosely, while the paint is wet, kind of brush some white paint into it. And you'll notice that it mixes on the canvas. That's a nice thing that we can do, is where we mix color on the canvas. And that gives us a particular look that we're very fond of. And you'll notice that my brush strokes tend to go from the upper right down towards the lower left, and there's a little bit of a curve to them. And those little minor decisions that I'm making as a creator is that I'm adding energy to the painting by doing those. A little C run.
Would zinc white help here with blending?
A zinc white isn't really so much for blending, particularly where I would say it would help here. So if you've never heard of it, zinc white is a transparent white. Its tinting strength is much lower. And it allows you to lighten red without changing the color of the red. You ever notice that sometimes when you add like titanium white to cad red, it goes coral, but it doesn't really stay the red that it started out, but lighter? Zinc white kind of addresses that. It's a bit transparent, and its transparency can help with blending or transitional values. It's not a blending agent in any way, but it can help whenever you have a color that's really transparent. And lets you see a bit of the color underneath. Sometimes that can be nice for transitions in color. Let me dry this with a hairdryer. Now, if you are painting along at home, you dry yours however is right for you. I'm going to have my hairdryer on regular air, low temperature, because I don't want to overheat the acrylic. And, you know, there's a myriad of little reasons why we don't want to do that. You can, if I'm done drawing before you're done drawing, pause me even on the live. You pause the video. You pause. You finish up. You get your coffee, stretch your legs, whatever you got to do, and don't hit play on me until you're ready to go again. I'm gonna dry this though right now.
All right. So, as she said, thank you guys. Do enjoy that you have the pause play controls, and you take a break and stretch and just do any of those things. Then you can come back and we'll be here waiting for you. Thank you all for joining us. It's so nice to see everybody again live. I'm doing great. Very happy to be here. Very happy to be doing what we're doing. We love making these videos. We have a lot of cool stuff coming up. We're doing these cool shorts. Those are going on. And I mean, like, I'm having fun making a bunch of these little new shorts. We've sort of taken time to build out the studio so that I can do more of them, and they're very enjoyable. So hopefully you guys will be seeing more of those, possibly on a daily basis if I can.
Yeah, what are we doing?
I like doing the shorts.
I like doing the shorts too. I've got a really fun short we're working on right now.
I make shorts.
We make shorts.
That's like a throwback to a very, very, very long time ago commercial that is semi-questionable in its nature.
So many semi-questionable things. Sometimes I like to watch ads, vintage ads, because it's like, it's so unreal what we as a society go, yep, that's okay. But it's it's not okay. It's not okay in any way. Not in any way. I'm going to put my Mars black over here. And I think I'll put my Cad red. So I will use a little of it here.
After you put that out, I'll put up a step, then you can tell everybody where they're at.
That's what I was going to do. All right. I'm going to grab my D brush, I think, because I feel like I'm going to go D. That's what I'm thinking. I think I want to go to a D, my friend. I have one. I have 1,000 of them. But then, of course, I'm like, which D is it? What D do I want? I'll do this D. This is a good D.
You
Number
want the
8
initial
D.
D.
This
All right.
is
Oh,
this
no,
is
no.
a
All right.
this is an exact brush you will probably get at the retreat.
All right. So hold on a second. Before we go, let me
Okay.
put the step up. And
Step
now-
4. So I'm using a number 8 Textura D brush. Now a D brush is shaped like a D. I've got a video on this. It's 1 minute that the mods could drop for you that you could just go be like, what is that brush? What is it for? I need to know more about that. There's a whole separate video. That's 1 minute though.
In a minute.
In a minute that will explain it. But it's a D brush in a size 8 by Textura. What could you use if you didn't have this? You could use a bright or a filbert would be fine. I just like the edge of this and the blendy bit of this, and it lets me do a lot of work real fast.
What paints out did you put out now?
I put out burnt sienna, yellow ochre, and then here I had cad yellow, phthalo green, phthalo blue, ultramarine blue, Mars black, cad red, medium, and titanium white.
All right. Now, let's paint.
All right, let's get a little bit of our yellow ochre, and I'm going to go ahead and put a smidge of green into it. It's maybe more green than I wanted, a little bit of green. And I'm going to come to the front of my fin here, and I'm going to use the edge of my brush, and you would do this too, whatever brush you were feeling confident with. Come along this little edge. Kind of brush that in. And I'm going to then brush it back, and you'll notice that I'm kind of curving these brush strokes. And the curve of them also helps inform the shape of the fin. So here what we're going to do is we're going to roughen the turtle a bit, and then we can come back in and put the background in once we know where he's really, really laid out. And then come back and hit some details. Isn't that fun?
That seems reasonable.
It seems reasonable, but will it be reasonable? We'll find out.
Yeah. All together.
Okay, now there's these wonderful sort of ragged, torn edges, and that's the other reason that I like a filbert, or I might even get some white into this. I just put some white in there so it has a nice, crisp, very high coverage edge. Titanium white has more opaque pigment in it, and that's why I would do that. That's why I would do any of that, right?
That's why.
That's why. When you understand why, then you will understand how. And you'll notice that I'm still sort of thinking about this curve. And then I'll come in the middle of that with a little burnt sienna and Mars black. And I'm going to just sort of brush just a hint of that also in a curve mid-fin.
Mid-fin.
I find with turtles, like the trick is getting this part kind of like, you get the dry brush sort of blendy color camouflage in, and then you put in the little linings as actually a separate thing. So this is just sort of the work up to that. And then it goes real fast with the lines. It seems like it, if you try to put all the lines in and then you paint in all the space as you do the stained glassing, it just makes the turtle take forever. The reason we're going to be able to get him done in just a couple hours, I'm going to go ahead and get a little black and brown here, is because because we're going to do the patterning last. Now we don't really see the edge of this fin. We'll see a little bit of the patterning in it. It will be quite dark. There might even be a green cast, but we don't need to get into that right now. I haven't rinsed out my brush, and you can see that paints out fairly well. I'm going to come here, and I know this is going to be dark, so I've just got some black. And I'm going to do black under his little belly here. And come to the back of the shell with a little bit of black. If I need more water, I can easily get it. This brush doesn't tend to overload in water, so it's nice. I'm going to come along that edge there. Now, interestingly enough, I'm going to go back into my yellow ochre for up top of the shell. Versions of this generally. And then in a radial pattern, I'm going to blend that paint out. And you'll notice that the brush strokes are making a radial pattern. They're making a little fan out. Now I'm going to go ahead and get a little bit of my yellow ochre and maybe a little of my cad yellow. And interestingly enough, a little of my cad red. Again, this isn't underpainting, this is layer 1. Underpaintings are the base color that anchors all of your artwork. And when we do this type of blocking in method, they're kind of a powerful tool. I'm going to continue to grab a little black and blend it all a little up while everything's wet. That'll work well. Whoops. Blending it a little bit up while everything's wet. And then coming out here, interestingly enough, I'll go ahead and work a little bit of my yellow ochre in as well. And then I'll put some white on there. And I'm going to use the shape of my brush to help me articulate that little shell out. Make a little bump there. Maybe a little more burnt sienna as I come through along that little edge. See how we're doing?
I do.
A little burnt sienna all along that edge. It's easier to block in than you did think. All right. Now through here, we're burnt sienna. And you'll notice that a lot of this is just about getting those core colors in, and then we come back with details. Now, as I'm coming up around that neck there, I'm going to put a little black onto my brush. Look how loosely mixed that all is. So I'm letting a lot of this mix on the canvas as I work. And that's another thing that's making the job a little bit less intense. I will rinse out now. I'm going to go ahead and take a little white and yellow here. I'll come up him a little bit. And then we're going to go here and kind of seam these things together because we know where they're going. A little bit of black just to keep the edge of this shell. And a little bit there to round out that fin. Then I'm going to do a little black and brown. And remember how we were using the shape of the brush to help us get those like little fin shapes? This is just a fun way of doing this. You can work hard and do it another way. This isn't the only way. Now I'm going to take the black and brown and get it under here for the shadow under this. Blocking in is work, but it's work that makes the rest of the painting easier. And that's a lot, you know, a lot of new painters just don't know to block in. Because that's not an idea that they were introduced to. I'm going to bring a little dark line down there. Keep it kind of dark there. I'm going to go ahead and add in a little bit of yellow, and there's some white on there already. Arc that over. Wow, we're just cooking, aren't we?
Yeah, you really are.
And then we're going to add a little white to the burnt sienna. I meant burnt sienna, but the yellow ochre in burnt sienna. Kind of come under here. Come a little bit along there. I'll have to come in with a different brush to really capture a lot of that, but I'm just trying to make sure that I've got the basic blocking in blocked in. Maybe a little bit of black. Come along my brush's edge here. And I can still see my eye there, but I'm just going to brush up real close so that everything is sort of covered. Because I like to have paint everywhere there could be paint. Oh my goodness, did we get a lot done there? Let's take that. Can we heat my coffee?
Yes, we can.
Whew.
Why don't we?
I'm so out of painting shape.
Whoa.
Let me try this, and then we'll heat it.
So, yes. Thank you, guys. Oh, I was getting caught up here. This is a very cool turtle. I know that lots of you guys have lots of positive turtle feels. I do too. I did one of my first art painting projects. One that I really enjoyed doing. My early exposure was to pastels. It was a turtle like this that I did. So I like these turtles too, like everyone else. And we're gonna do. Yes, I agree. We definitely need more coffee. Good to see everyone. And yeah, probably 2 hoot painting is. We got a question on a scale of 1 to 3. How many hoots? What we used to say is there hoots. 1 hoot, 2 hoot, 3 hoots. And now this one's probably a 2 hoot, but mostly because of the length of it. So sorry. We also haven't put in any kind of sound dampening between Cinnamon and I, so it's just sorry guys, you can hear I have to make sound effects. It's just more of that. So
I just smudged some white paint on my canvas because I had a little brown that had gotten in there when I was working, and it was just, I know I have to put that second coat on there, and it was the easiest way to fix it.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's why I smudged a little white there. Because I had smudged a little brown.
So, let's go back over here.
All right. You can give me some questions, and then
I was going to say here, so
I could probably get to Skype and answer them, and then you can eat coffee.
Well, let me just give you a couple here. So if you don't have, don't answer them yet because you have a tendency to jump in and answer. So let me give you a couple warmed up here. So we've got over 300 people, so we're going to celebrate that. Wait. Don't celebrate yet. I haven't get all this because I want to go microwave your coffee. If you do it while I'm talking, then I won't have stuff to do. Okay. So then you have to talk about if you don't have a D, what you could use instead of a D, and that Dolls thinks that this is a great therapy because art therapy is great.
I agree.
And then talk about turtles and your difficulties of turtles. And like, this was a 2 hoot turtle, and what makes it 2 hoot? Okay.
Yeah, and it may get elevated to a 3 hoot because you guys are allowed to vote back. All right, so the first thing, why is this a 2 hoot turtle? So generally, I look at the number of colors, layers, and techniques and tools required for a student to complete a painting and time. So things that are 1 hoot tend to be an hour or under and have few colors, and the techniques are fairly beginner friendly. And if you haven't painted since grade school, with all the extra instructions, it should be fine for you to be able to do a 1 hoot painting. 2 hoots tend to be closer to 2 hours, have several layers. You might need specialty brushes, or it's just a more involved painting in your time and attention. So I'll raise the hoot scale. At 3 hoot, generally, we are still explaining every step of the painting. We're still explaining every color mix, every tool, but now it could be 2 to 3 hours or more. The subject matter could be very complex. Materials could be less common or more difficult to get. Or there could be just a lot of colors and a lot of layers. Like, it's as it becomes more involved. I wrote a good article that I sometimes include in our newsletter that covers like how to understand the hoot readings. So that's a thing. And then we're 300. So we are Sherpa. So we got to do the dance. We did it. We did it. We're doing a turtle. Yeah, we're painting. We're painting. We're painting a turtle. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. So that's whenever Sparta came out at one point while we were streaming, and we hit 300 people, and John was like, we are Sherpa. And I don't know, it's become a whole thing. And so now it's still a thing. And so, that's where we dine. So that one's a really good one. And I think I forgot one. Oh, debrush. What's a good alternative to debrush? A filbert or a bright would work just fine in that. A filbert, if you'll notice, is shaped also on a curve. So it gives you these little edges, but it doesn't have the D shape to it. It's just a flat. It's a flat. It's tongue. That's what it is. You could also do a bright, which is this brush, and you would just use the corner or the brush to shape out those edges. So you can do it with different brushes. A lot of times there are several techniques, or there are several tools that will get the job done. And then I just try to explain thoroughly the one that I'm on. That one's good. Let me see if I can see some stuff while John's. You can grab if you need a stretch or you got to go to the restroom. We should be done pretty soon. We'll be done in the next hour for sure. I'm going to see if I can't get into Skype today and catch up with live show questions. Okay. Will this video be on YouTube? I wasn't ready to paint. This video and all my videos, there are thousands of them. I think I'm not quite soon. I think I've done thousands of paintings, like thousands, several thousand. But we tend to leave them up, and as long as a YouTube or hosting service exists in the world, we will have them somewhere to watch. But probably, like, we're lazy, so as long as YouTube lets us keep them here, we're gonna keep them here. So they should be do this. I want to say thank you to Doll's Dreams. I'm really glad that the channel is therapy. To that, I want to say to you, and I want to say to all of you, I have a painting coming up. It's the last in this series that I designed. And it's a gentleman in a suit in a storm on rocks. And it's in honor of men's mental health and for all the dudes we have in our life, because I think we're starting to understand more and more that men express depression and anxiety sometimes as anger, and they're really going through a hard time. So I just wanted to do a painting. So if you had a dude in your life, or person, it could be a person, because it's for behind in a suit. So just, if you have someone in your life that painting would speak to, come by and do that, because I think that one's an important one. Sometimes we have to, we speak about the beauty, but we also sometimes need to speak to the trouble. Okay, let's put up a step and I will continue on. We're going to go back into our background. Does that sound good? I think so.
It does.
There it is. I knew I put it somewhere. Step 5. All right, we're going to deepen this here, and we're going to kind of finish out, I don't know, just the finishing work on our ocean. Okay, now that I've got the Phthalo Blue and the Ultramarine Blue, I will smidge a little bit of black in, but because we have a blue base, you will notice that it doesn't do in our color as much. And I'm going to come here. I'm still using the number 20 Artney Bright. It's just a big hog bristle bright. And I'm going to come along here on these edges that I painted and paint that in. And you can see that that's quite deep and beautiful. A little more ultramarine, a little more phthalo blue, and there's just a hint of black in there. Fizzgig is glad that I am addressing men's mental health. I think it's super important. I think that We are really good as a species at stopping and helping one group keep up, but sometimes we struggle to make sure everyone is in the party. Does that make sense? There's just, I think we just get overwhelmed with the too many things in the air, is what it is. I'm not really sure, but right now, I think it's important to, you know, see people and what they're going through. I mean, and John, he's had some mental health stuff come up recently. It's hard.
Yeah, it's, there's stress is a hard thing to deal with. It can cause all sorts of things: anxiety, stress, and
Lack of sleep. I'm just
sleep.
lightly brushing this layer over this. If you'll notice, I'm just brushing this through here on a light glaze. I'm using the corner of my brush to create lighter, finer lines, and I'm just trying to make it be uneven, and then I brush it down here. And we'll come up here. No, John is right. Like, it has a myriad of effects on your health. It's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we're finding more and more that men may be expressing anxiety and depression as anger or other feelings. So we may not be responding to what we're seeing correctly. And I mean that like the people in their lives may be like we're looking at one emotion when really we're dealing with another. It's just sort of interesting what's coming out. And I also I think much like 14-year-old girls and young people, I don't know that the internet is good for men. No, it's been their friend.
I don't know what the internet
made it harder for them. I'm not sure. I think the internet may have made it harder for all of us except get to our art lessons.
That's right.
So you see that I've taken the Phthalo Blue, the Ultramarine Blue, the Mars Black, and I brushed it through here. I'm going to rinse out pretty soon. I'm going to get some white onto my brush before my rinse out because you'll notice that there's some kind of like little jet stream stuff coming off of him. And I want to do this while it's still wet. So you'll notice that I'm just loading it up on the brush.
Those are speed indicators.
He's for man, these guys in the water actually are pretty fast.
They are.
They're slow when they feel like it, but you see a shark chase them in the shallows. They're out of there. They're like, I was being chill because that was a choice I made, not because that's the only speed I had, hammerhead.
I have more than one gear.
That's what Mr. Turtle says. I have other gears. I'm going to add little, can you see those little drops? So kind of like white there. And these are like churns of the water whenever we do brighter white like this. And I apply it with like a very light pressure so that the pigment doesn't get too mixed on the canvas. And I'm going to do some down here, I think, as well. A little bit on the corner of my brush that you can see there. Get my nails done today. And also bringing some of those little water spots through here because they talk a little bit. When you see those, then you understand that there's some. And see, I went over that blue spot. Mm-hmm. I knew I'd be fixing that. Just kind of bringing that through here. All right. I think that let's look at that overhead. See if we like that. That's looking pretty good. We're getting there. We are getting there. I don't know if I want to enrich my green anymore. I might take my green and a little bit of yellow and kind of come through here and yeah, I like that. Pop a little. This could be like, I don't know, like sea kelp or something.
Other kind of kelp?
Yeah, I just want a little touch of it there. That's something that I like. If I chose to not do that, it might have been a one-hoop painting, but I got to be a problem. Always got to be the problem. All right, let's take a sip of our coffee and dry the surface, and then we'll continue on painting our turtle.
So everybody take a little... Sorry. Yeah, so everybody just take a little coffee break and have a little sip of coffee. That's what I'm gonna do right here. I'm gonna get my coffee. Do do do. Mmm, coffee. I'm gonna probably have to warm mine up, which means that Cinnamon's gonna want hers warmed up pretty soon. So after this, we'll probably chat a little bit, go on to the next step. This turtle's coming along much faster than I expected.
Huh?
The turtle's coming along much faster than I expected.
No. Yeah. He's weird. He's easier than he looks, but he has the layers that he has. He's where he's at. He's at where he's at.
Oh, that's okay.
I'm gonna put on my glasses. Let's throw on a step. Take a deep breath. Put down our worries and our stress. I'm gonna pick up my round brush. And I'm going to work just a little bit of detail on his face because I think this is a good time to do that. Now, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of my white over to my yellow ochre, and I'm going to thin it and roll it on my round brush. This, again, is a number 6 Raphael Sepia round, so it's a round brush. And I'm going to come along the front of his little nose with a nice fine line. I'm wearing my glasses so I can really see what the heck I'm doing. And I'm going to add a little bit of his little eye here. That we know we were going to see. Now I'm going to come up here with a little bit of yellow and white. I might even get into my cad yellow in a second, but I'm going to just brush that up there a bit. Let's get a little cad yellow into it. That's nice. All right, and then I'm going to come along. I've really been into those old snapping turtles that they've been finding places that have just been everywhere all of a sudden. That's been super fun. I'm going to grab a little bit of my yellow ochre and my burnt sienna together. I haven't rinsed my brush out, so there's probably a little bit of white on there. And I am just sort of kind of brushing that in around. Coming up over the head. Weirdly brushes in faster than you'd think. I'm going to take a little bit of my cad yellow and my burnt sienna together. I'm going to come here. And notice that's kind of like got a little more yellow in it. That really does the yellow ochre and the cad yellow really do a nice pairing. I'll come along that there. Kind of brushing that down. Bring a little bit over the top of the nose. I love painting turtles. It's just a weird thing for me. But you can see it starts to come in. I just rinsed out my brush. Now what I've got to do is I'm going to get my black, and I've got it thin enough with water that it will flow out. And his eye is a little bit downward angled and kind of in the shape of a football. So that's what I'm going to try to capture here, is a little bit of a downward angle, a bit of a shape of a football. While that's having to dry, I'm going to come under the shell with a black line. Come kind of under that shell with that black line. Come under the little belly a bit. Another place I might look for a place is I'll come under his little beak or mouth. I don't mind that it's blending with the paint there. This is just that sort of little dark Put a little nose there. And then a little trick that I have is I'm going to taper the eye a bit. I'm going to grab the background color. See how I taper that eye a bit?
Totally, yeah.
And sharpen that nose. Just a touch. A little bit of a nostril sense going on there. And I'm going to bring some lines around his little eye like that. These are just to start with. I'm going to come back with light, but this will help me get those in. And then now a little bit here, we're going to come up the shell, breastplate. We'll bring that black line here. These will help us really define these little areas. Just getting those in now. Now I want to dry everything for a second, and then we'll come back and do the next layer, which is going to go real fast and be real fun.
Real fast. So yeah, I guess I'm feeling really good. Thank you all for asking. And bubbles. We will talk about how to do bubbles because there's lots of different ways of doing it. As a matter of fact, bubbles change a lot from whether you get little bubbles or big bubbles and whether you're doing like as foam or single bubbles. So if you go to our channel and just search for bubbles, Cinnamon has had so many bubble videos, from big bubbles to little bubbles on black, on white, on different colors. They're really cool to go check out those studies and see what she's done. So, yeah, I think that's pretty good. Going over here and looking in chat, just seeing what everyone's saying. Hello.
You ready for the next step?
I certainly can be. I tried. I'm gonna put it next step. And you ready?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, there we go.
All right, I'm going to kind of think about using a chalk tool. This is a Taylor's chalk tool about my top little divisions on my shell and how I want to bring those around because there are some patterns that here might be relevant, right? And so I come here and I'm going to segment this out into 1, 2, 3, 4 segments. And then I should have a top segment on my shell. And then in the center of each of these, I'm going to make a little dot and then one at the top. Is everything okay? Am I leaning in? Oh, yes, please. Okay. So now, once I have that line in, I'm going to take a little bit of my Cad yellow medium and my yellow ochre and a little white. And I'm going to brush in a radial out from those little dots I made. Let me exaggerate it even so you can really see it. A little white. I'm using my D brush, my number 8 D brush. Remember, you could use a filbert or a round or another brush. You could use a grainer at this stage. Just whatever brush is feeling comfortable to you. And I'm just kind of making little radial lines, dry brushing. There's not a lot of water on my brush. I'm going to come up here. Again, Cad yellow and yellow ochre. And then, of course, that radial. Now I'm going to grab a little bit of my Cad yellow and my Cad red. A smidge of my burnt sienna. And I'm going to brush this around each segment, again, a little bit radial. Just starting to get those little patterns into the space. I'm going to grab a little bit more brown and red. And sometimes I'll use the edge of the brush if I need more control. Thank you. Just getting some color on here. I'm going to brush that in again. And it's really about kind of getting some brush directionality, but also some color. So let's get a little bit of our red and our yellow. I haven't rinsed my brush, so it's got a little brown in it. Bringing those little lines in. Let's bring a little bit of that orange up here. A little bit of the yellow ochre and the cad yellow. Brushing those in. So I'm just bringing those in. I am thinking about the radial, but not in a very super specific way. So that just means that there's the implication of those lines, right? But I don't necessarily have those lines. Now I'm going to take a little of my black and a little brown together. I'm still using the D, but you could use any brush. And brush that sort of up on a curve there and let that dry brush in. And you can kind of see that that starts to shape this shell a lot. Come along this little edge, sort of wiggling back and forth, making sure it's a nice line. Brush a little bit down, a little of that dark color. Now another kind of fun one that I have in there, I'm going to take a little bit of my green and yellow, and I'm going to come down to my burnt sienna. There we go. I'll bring it back up to my blue. Get some white in there. I just want some kind of sea colors. See how we're doing? Mm-hmm. I brush that loosely there, and I'm just shaping out. I'm going to grab some of my white and blue and yellow ochre. It's just a loose dry brush as I come around. I do have an arc to the shape of my brush where I am, you know, shaping the shell. I just wipe my brush off with a towel and I'm bringing a little more white over here. A little more yellow. I like this part of the shell to be very colorful. And it is getting very colorful. A little bit of yellow, red. Bring some little spots there. All right, let's call that a step, but we're not really going to stop. We're going to keep painting.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and put a step up, and then while I'm doing that, they wanted to know what brand was that D brush.
Raphael. I believe right now Raphael's the one making the D brushes. I'm sure if they're popular, everyone will knock them off in 2 seconds. But right now it's Raphael, and you can get them at our store, but you should definitely check shipping until we get that totally worked out. But you can also, I think, find them in Europe and different places because Raphael's a big international brand. I really like them. If you can't find them anywhere, we have them. And they can be a lovely thing, I think. I'm going to take a little bit of my Cad yellow ochre mixture. Come back here and kind of it's interesting because as you go, there's a bit of a turn on the edge of the shell. Come up there with a little bit of bright yellow ochre and a touch of Cad. I'll brush that down too. Come along the little edge of that shell. I'm gonna rinse out. I want to go to darker value down here and then through this edge. All right, I'm going to add a little blue to my black and brown mixture. So I add a little ultramarine blue. And I'm going to just make sure that we see a little bit of that turning of that shell. Then I'm going to come here, kind of brush some of that down. So that was the black, brown, and a little bit of ultramarine blue. Can you guys see that? I'm going to add a little bit of that gray there to a couple places. And I think I'll have to put out some more white. I have gone through my white, my friends. That will happen from time to time. You will just go through it. All right, I'm going to get a little bit of my yellow on my brush. Brush that right there. You can see that. Little bit of orange. Brushing a little bit of orange there and put a few places through my shell there. A little bit of blue, black, and burnt sienna. I'm going to lightly kind of brush in a curve over that lip a small line of that blue gray that we just made with the burnt sienna, Mars black, and ultramarine blue right through there. See that curves that? And then we brush back and forth. Now listen, if you haven't painted in a number of years and you're like, this is really hard, it's just because it's new. So things you can do to have a better time: slow me down, rewind me, watch it all the way through, and then play it when you're doing it, and then pause me as often as you need. And if it's still challenging from there, let the mini book come out, because sometimes that is all you need to get through, you know, everything that you've got going on. All right, we're going to call that a step, and we're going to add some color to these areas. Okay. I'm going to come into my green and yellow like I had before, and get my yellow ochre into it and my white. Little green. I think it's fun to put a little green in it. Now notice it's not green. It's yellow ochre with a hint of green. And that's important to understand when we're doing something that's not I'm just making sure that the front of the edge of the fin is very crisp. Now I'm going to get a little more yellow ochre on this brush. I haven't rinsed it. You can see all the paint that's there. And then we're going to just bring these back here, and you'll notice that that's giving your edge a nice little filtered kind of deal. Now while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and come right here and highlight through here. Come right there, a little yellow ochre, a little white. Okay, let's rinse out. I'm going to take a little bit of my gray that I made from earlier, which was the ultramarine blue. And then right here, I'm going to just blend back and forth. See how we're doing? Just to get that little shadow. A little bit of one there. A little bit of burnt sienna. Just brushing that back. Back over into the blue, black, and brown. And then I'm going to come over here. Oh, sorry, to this back fin and hit it with some of that dark color. Now I know I'll need to come and highlight it in a little bit. I'm going to make sure I come underneath this. Then back into my burnt sienna. Come into a green. This is my yellow ochre green that I had from earlier that I'm just sort of mixing into, and I'm going to add some white. Maybe a little bit when we go into this blue here. See how it's just giving it a kind of a cast? Went into the ultramarine blue. Maybe a little bit of white and yellow ochre. Try to capture that little roll on that fin a little bit, right? That's what we've got to do, is get a roll on the fin. Now, if I need to put out more yellow ochre, I will do that, and I definitely do. But I think right now this guy will benefit from... Oh, I didn't mean to put it that close to my white. That was weird. That was weird, yo.
And
Way close to the white.
Have happened.
Huh?
Weirder things have happened.
Weirder things have happened. Let's go ahead and take a little bit of the burnt sienna over to the ultramarine blue. We know that makes us a fantastic gray. And I'm going to come back here to this spin and brush in some of that fantastic gray. I'm going to wiggle the shape of the brush back to these edges. I'm going to come and get a little bit of my cad yellow and my cad red together. And I'm going to pull this through the fin, sort of orange. I'll go up over the green where I need to. And then I'll get into my burnt sienna and my black. Sort of dry brush very lightly. Just dry brush it up. You guys have this. And if it's hard today, I want you to understand it's not hard forever. Just pay close attention to what skills were hard for you. Was it the color mixing? Was it seeing where the paint went? What part of this process was challenging? One, always share with me so I can think about how we can make those things easier in our lessons. And then two, know that state of frustration, notice that I'm making kind of scratchiness here with this brush. Notice that state of frustration is not a forever state. Gotta bring some brown through here. It's not your state of being into perpetuity. It is just your state of being right now. I'm gonna grab a little bit of orange. I'm going to go ahead and sort of base some of that in because I like that color and I want it even more prevalent than I have it. I'm going to come and bring it around here because now I'm getting playful. Get playful, you got to look out. But orange is just a great color to have everywhere. All right, I'm going to call this done to this point. I'm going to sip my coffee and we're going to start resolving the little details, but I want this dry. So dry, and then we'll come back.
All right, so, man, so many things. Good to see everybody out here again. I think that this is going much faster than we expected here, and so I imagine that we're going to see some really interesting turtle textures coming in the next couple steps here, because this is definitely coming together really nice. Just reading the chat here. You guys are talking about all sorts of interesting stuff out there. And if you guys haven't joined us in the chat. You should, because there's all kinds of crazy cool stuff they talk about in chat.
Yeah, it is really super worth it. What are we doing?
Just talking.
Mm.
You ready for another step?
Mm-hmm. Live shows are the best. Okay. I'm going to get back to my number 6 round. If you had an Art Sherpa number 4 round, that would be a good comparable brush. You just want a good round with a nice tip that lets you work. I'm going to get a little bit of my yellow ochre and my cad yellow together because that's bright and luminous and noticeable. Add some white to it. And I'm going to make a line above the eye curving down and then a little pair to it. That's how we're going to start talking about these little lids. Another little line there, and see that kind of brings that forward. And I want to bring a little bit of that yellow ochre cad yellow along the not that we don't need it to be lighter. We might need it to be lighter. Let's come along the edge with some white here. Maybe a little more white. Right here. I just kind of brush out. I'm leaving the nose, but you know, I just want to know that that's there. All right, I'm going to get a little white, and I'm not rinsing my brush out, and I'm letting it go into the blue. And I'm sort of dry brushing here. Right, which means I don't have a lot of water on the brush, and a lot of the canvas is going to show through. Add a little bit to the top of his eye. Top of his head. And then a little bit kind of coming up here. Again, I'm getting a little blue in it. There's a little blue cast to it. So we're making a little shape that's kind of a little gumdrop shape here with the white. And then we're kind of going under his chin. Oh no, that may be those groceries. Okay, I'm going to continue on with my black. I've rinsed my brush out. I'm reloading the tip of the brush with black. And I'm going to go ahead and come here and paint in this eye black. May have gotten a little big there. It's been known to happen to me. Come here with a few black lines along the eyes. I may want to come back with some white there just to make sure we're all good. What was it? Just mail?
Yeah, it was just someone checking on roofs, see if they wanted to have one made done on ours.
On what?
Roof guy.
Ah! All right, just kind of running that a little bit along there. You see how we're doing? That's lovely. Now, you're going to want to come here. I'm going to grab a little bit of my white. Put a little dot right there. Yeah, you don't want to skip that. His eye got big. It happens. I'm going to come here and grab a little bit of my black. And now I want to be in my brown and black. And dry brushing again. I'm going to come here and up the top And then on the side, we do want to leave this nose quite light. And don't take it all the way down to the lip. And then we're going to bring this back. Let's come here. A little bit right here. It's all quite dark. Just dry brushing that around. Again, that dry brushing helps us find that shape. And then I definitely want some orange through here. Bringing that down. Sometimes I like to bring these colors around. All right. Let's call that a step. And John, next to on the over there in the cubby is root beer I needed. My blood sugar is having a weird meltdown.
We can do that.
It is having a weird one, but we're getting there. Look at our little guy getting there. I think I may need to drop the lid down a little bit, but he's starting to show up, which I do like. I do like that he's coming in. Pop that for a minute. Just need a little blood sugar. I'm about woo. Start keeping juice in.
There you go. You have a little. That way you can have a little sip. Have a place to put it. There we go.
All right. Are we on next step or are we same step?
I don't. It was just a moment ago. I think we stepped.
Okay. So I'm going to take a dark color and I'm going to come to the back of the eye and I'm going to kind of just make sure that this is shaped a little more like where I was hoping it would be, which that's nice. That's working fairly well. Get a little bit of yellow, white. There we go. Kind of exaggerate that front a little bit, maybe more. I think a little more white right here. Maybe along the little mouth line a bit. And perhaps I like to hit it at the top of the nose and a little bit out on the eye would be fantastic. Okity dokity. I'm going to put out my superpower. Now this is going to make a lot of my life easier. You can use your thick, heavy-bodied white and you can thin it with water. I buy this paint. This is titanium white, golden fluid acrylic. Craft paint is a similar paint consistency, but how this is different is it's super packed with pigment. Oh, I haven't taken the... I'll do the big one. Been taking the little seal off yet. Gotta mute me, babe.
Okay, no problem. Good. Little much paint. That's all right. Okay.
So now that I have that out, what I have is I don't have to add any water to it to improve its flow off the thing, and I can start working my lines off of the sea turtle. And what's great is I can get blue into the white, still have a very light color, but then that white won't be so substantial that that's all we see. And you can see I'm coming back there and doing a little line. And I'll come along this little edge and do a little line. Now, this little line will, interestingly enough, kind of come up mid-shell. I don't like to just draw a completely non-stop line, interestingly enough. I like to have it broken, especially when I'm painting. Now I'm going to come along the top here. Right over his shell. Come across and kind of do that top one. Then there's this one. Then his little friend would come over here. We want to break it up into 4 if we remember. So now we broke it up into 4. Sometimes if those lines cross, what I'll do is I'll come in and get a little bit of color and see how I erase that crossover? Yeah. It's important that they don't cross. Don't let the lines cross. Is it Ghostbusters important? Probably not. But it still matters, so don't do it. I'm going to add a little white to this yellow ochre, burnt sienna, and Mars black mixture that sort of was over here. The reason I'm doing that is so it's off-white. And we're going to start bisecting the lower shell. You see how we're doing there? Sort of showing that turn of the shell. There we go. So we've got that lower shell kind of happening. That's rather nice. I'm going to come here. I definitely might have some yellow ochre in it now. I'm going to go around the outside edge of that fin. Come along the top of this, outside edge of this one. I don't have pure white anywhere, if you guys are noticing. Right? I'm going to come over here to this blue gray that I had mixed earlier. So where the patterning is more in shadow, I don't use a pure white. Are you okay, babe? Yeah. What was that?
It's my chair creaking.
That was your chair?
Yeah.
Okay. So now that I have that shell there, I'm going to want to put in, let's put in the far shadow lines. We'll go to the back fin. It's a good place to practice. It's way out of our line of sight, and we can use a lot of blue into the white to kind of break that up, right? I'm going to come along the front here. And then we're going to make another little line. It's going to be a little wandery. Sometimes I make a little dot or some sort of interesting like little pattern to the veining. Okay, so we have a little veining back there. It's in the dark, it's not bright. A little bit there. Okay. Now this is also shadow veining, so I'll come up to the front fin. And what I'm going to initially notice is the bend. Huh? Was I messing up my lane?
You said front fin. I didn't know what you meant by front fin.
The front flipper, I guess. Come along here and we just talk. And where I want the line to be less visible, I might be finer with it. And I've got a glazing technique that makes this a lot easier too, to get the shading in there. So that once we get these lines in, then we come back and we glaze, and then we can just sculpt everything out super easily. It's kind of nice. Like to kind of bend these in to each other. And I bring little cross beads out, so sometimes you'll see a little different little shapes of where the divisions are. And again, we're going to shadow through here, so you just want to know the lines are there. These do not have to be the most perfect lines of your life. If you're feeling stressed about it, don't. It's not something you need to be stressed about. You just need to know that these are here, and we have to shadow them out a little bit later. Now, let's call that a step, and we're going to come do this Fenn's lines. Now I'm going to use my yellow ochre and my white and a little bit of my cad yellow together. So we're going to come from the back and join these up first. I find that's just the easiest on these patterns. Just bringing those little lines where we can see them. Now, it will go into these like dark lines later, right? But first we have to find our front lines. And I think of them a little bit like veining. So I just try to remember to not just use my reference, but also the picture that I'm currently working on. To make sure that it works with what we're looking at. Because again, there are minute changes every time you paint something. You know, my expertise is not in forgery. So again, we don't make carbon copies. There we go, a little front scaling there. Making little tiny marks. Doing his little veining. I do believe these are like fingerprints and you can recognize turtles by them. You can see I'm just working them through, making lots of little webbing. Some lines are thick, some lines are thin, some lines come close together. They're all kind of this more yellow ochre mix. And then we're going to be starting the black lining back there. All right. Let us call that a step. And let us move forward to the next step. I'm going to take a little bit of yellow ochre and cad yellow. And try to catch the very intricate lining on the face. First, we'll go under here, because we know that's going to be a thing. And we'll go back under here. A little bit there. So I'm going to put, at first, a little line kind of just around my eye. And then I'm going to come over here. Do a little bit of white and then kind of some little kind of scaling there. I'll have to do my little bit of that scaling there. And I'll come back with it and try to get some extra scales in.
Extra. There's a good extra skill that was requested.
Huh.
Can you explain glazing, or maybe you'll get to it later in the video?
Yeah, I'm going to do it in the video later.
Okay.
I'm going to demonstrate it.
Oh, neat. Well then, you know what, Patty?
But I don't
Hang
mind
tight.
explaining glazing. I'll do it then and do it now and do it later just in case you got to run. Glazing is a thin, transparent, clear color that goes over another color and changes its value or hue. So what we're doing here is creating kind of like that little patterning. Coming over the top with a little bit of scaling. Coming through the front, a little bit of highlight. And what I'm going to do is once I have that in, I am going to come here in my black and brown. And talk a little bit about what's going on here. A little bit of extra dark color. You see that?
Yeah.
I think I got too big with the eye.
No, I think he's just like just a baby then. It just makes him little.
Maybe.
He just goes into, I am just a baby turtle now.
Adding some little nonsense from there. All right, let's call that a stage and let's put in the black lining. Just real quick. Which is going to be us just sort of thinning our black paint with water. I'm just going to take a drop of water on my brush over to my black paint. And we're going to kind of these are like little crisscross wrinkles. And I think it's fun to sort of just take the brush on the light line. I'm still using the same brush. And you just kind of follow the curve. It can be a little more blue if I want to around here. Little wrinkles. You were just giving him little wrinkles. Give him some wrinkles. He needs a little wrinkles.
Little texture there.
He needs a little texture. He does. Kind of weave those little... See how the lines, when they cross each other, they wrinkle up the skin? I think that I want to kind of also come under here, sort of dry brush in or shade that a bit. Might add a highlight in the face lines. So I'm adding a little white to it. A couple places, not everywhere. Just to sort of pick that up. Okay, let's call that a step, and then I'll show you all a neat little trick that I think I can even level him up from where I originally had him. I'm going to keep my round brush. I'm going to get my yellow ochre in it and a little, Okay. And I'm going to dry brush. Kind of a little radial here. See if I like that. Let me see if I like this, because I had wanted to do it the first time and then didn't, and then I thought, man, it would look really cool if I had done that. And
I think that's looking pretty cool.
well, because their shells sometimes have this, but I don't want to take out the work that I already did. That's why I was like, let me go first. Let me go first and make sure I like my idea. It's okay. I don't love it with that brush. Let me try. I'm going to grab a small brush. This is a number 0D. You could just use a small bright, like a tiny bright. Or if you had your grass comb in, it would be fantastic. You could do your grass comb. You know, just a brush in this sort of size range, small filbert. I just want to work the shell a little bit. I'm going to take a little bit of my white color and get maybe some blue in there. Oh, I know what it is. I'm using the Fluid paint. That's what's going wrong for me. So
Can
what
you
was
explain
going on,
that?
I was using the fluid paint, and the fluid paint was too thin, and it wasn't dry brushing. So I was not at all getting the effect that I wanted. So I'm wiping everything off on my paper towel, and I'm kind of putting it back to where it was. Does that make sense?
Totally does.
So what I'm doing here is just, you know, I had an idea, and this will happen to me sometimes where I'll be like, I have an idea, and then I get into it, and I'm like, no, I don't love that idea. And that's really often just because, I'm going to go ahead and add some white here. That's really often just because, like, it won't execute the way I expect it to. Oh, I got some just green there, but I like it. So I'm just taking this time here and sort of defining these little segments from each other, and any little painting I want to finish out on them, or any little, oh, I think they would look good if you had like a little brown here or something. I'm going to come here and add a little of my red and yellow. That's my cad red and my cad yellow. I'm going to get some white. Come here and just brush up. And I'm adding the white here, just trying to turn the shell, right? Because there's a bit of the shell that goes down into shadow, and there's a bit of it that's up in light. And so that's all I'm doing, is just trying to make sure. And I'm taking color and depositing it in the shell, different places. I like to do that. I'm adding some red here. And can you see when I add color how it just weirdly makes him more interesting?
It really, really does.
I'm going to add some little scraped out reds here into his wrinkles, because that's just fun. Maybe put some of his different little colors that he's got here on my brush, different places in his body. Sometimes it's nice to turn, to take things that are in one place and bring them elsewhere.
Distributes that color around the...
Yeah, I'm adding a little bit of highlight on his... I think I could put a little green on his little shell here. Put green on his mouth. Interesting how when you put little colors different places, it just puts the personality in these guys, doesn't it?
Totally does.
And it's okay once I've got the patterning in to come in and touch up some stuff. That will work. That's all right. That always kind of goes. But, you know, little yellow ochre and white. A little bit of highlight on that there. And then I can come back and even shadow here. And I'm just using this brush. Any small brush you have, it doesn't have to be this brush. I just have a lot of these. And I like them. They're easy to work with. They make me happy. But it doesn't have to be what makes you happy, you know? What I'm doing is I'm just painting a dark version of the low shell, but not as so dark. So we can still see that it's bent there. And grab some blue. And what I'll do here is I'll just come back and put that little line in and then add a little dark value under this. And then what you're going to see is that shell turn. All right. Let's grab some of my off-white with my blue and my white. And then when we come here, now can you see what I mean about that shell turning? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Totally see it.
All right. Let's put it on the last step and we'll glaze where we need to glaze. Now in this, I can use a tool called glazing medium, which gloss glazing liquid, right? Now this slows the drying time of the paint and allows me to thin it without losing any of the quality of the paint or any of its ability to bond. It is my favorite product out there. I don't have another one that I recommend as highly. It is not just a glazing liquid, it's also slow drying agent. The reason that it's not called that is because a lot of the products that open the acrylic time don't ever dry, and you have to add them in percentages to the acrylic paint. It's really challenging for beginners. This product has a no fault, no fail zone.
Right.
So I like it. Besides the fact that it's just fantastic, I just like it better. All right, I'm going to take a little bit of my blue and my glazing medium. And I'm going to come here, and if we remember, we wanted this to sort of be a little in shadow. So I'm going to just glaze that over that fin. I can even come into my darkest dark, black, and even darken that more. And you can see I keep my veining. But what happens is that there's now a shadow. And then what I can do is I can get a little glaze and a little pigment. And look at that. Soften that edge. With a very nice turn on value. I'm going to come here and bring a little bit of that darkening value here. Right, so a little bit of the blue and black and glazing liquid. And maybe push that back a little bit. And sometimes I like to hit the shell. And I might come back here towards the back. And see how that just creates a nice value. And because it's a glaze and it's allowing the color to show through underneath, it does some very lovely stuff. Maybe a little blue. So if I think anything's too bright or isn't, you know, registering how I want it to for the shape and pop and, you know, little cuteness of this guy, then it's super simple for me to come back through. And I think I'm going to add a slightly brighter white there at that turn edge, and that will actually pull out that fin. See how adding the slightly lighter pulls that out. These are just little moments that, you know, I often hope to never ever lose my ability to get into. I'm going to add a bright pop of highlight to that inside the eye just because, why wouldn't you? And I think I'm going to give it a signature because we've really gotten into this, guys, deep today. Let's use a signature brush, though. It's been a minute, and I've so loved having you here.
It
Are there
has.
any questions that I should get to while I'm signing,
Let's
John?
see here.
Oh, there they are. We're here. I'm
Is
going
it
to use a
glazing?
number 2 precision liner.
Is it glazing that makes things feel far away?
Yes, glazing can do a bunch of things, but one of the things that it does is it does help you. So one of the places that this technique I find for especially new painters, but really all painters, it will come up in your life is that you paint some like distant mountains, right? And they're supposed to be of a value and a hue that allows them to be super close to the background sky. And that's what pushes them back into the distance. They're less saturated and they have less contrast. But maybe in your enthusiasm in painting mountains, you did the mountains 3 stages too soon. Like it would have been your third range in, but you did your third range as your first range. And now it isn't pushing back into the distance. You can use that technique to push those mountains back into the distance without having to repaint them entirely. Or let's say you wanted foggy trees, but you're having a lot of trouble getting fog. You can use zinc white or glazing to create a distant mist or fog. So it's a fantastic, dude.
So many.
When you can get it, I don't care if you're painting craft paint. When you can get it, that's a good thing to get. Look for it on sale. Keep an eye on it. It lasts a long time. You're talking like probably a bottle a year for most people, 6 months for active painters. So yes, I think it'll be like $8 or $13, but it lasts a really long time, and it makes your other paint last a longer time because it slows the drying time down, so you can improve your blending. You're not using as much there. So it actually is one of those weird products that makes up for itself. I'm signed in. I used a little signature brush, So yeah, he's definitely a cousin, not a twin of the first one, but I don't tend to make clone turtles. I'm not a clone maker. Let's go over our brushes again.
All right,
we used.
Let me make you small up again.
Okay, just real quick. In this class, these are what we used. This is a big bright. This is a number 20 bright in a hog bristle right here. This is a 8D brush. This is a 0D brush. Just for signing, I did a number 2 Raphael Precision, and then I did the sepia. So these were my brushes this particular class. You could use a filbert or bright instead of the D brushes. We do have the D brushes at our store. And you should be able to find them because Raphael's a big company just in different places. And by the way, I don't even mind you like checking my store against other people's stores because sometimes the stuff is just in my store and you can even use it to price shop. And I'm not going to be offended at that. If you shop for me, I want you to be happy. Do it if you're happy. Okay. So that's what we use today on those brushes. And I have to wash those after. I can be big now.
All right.
Oh my goodness. This is going to be a weird week because I'm getting back into it. It's been a minute for me. We've got an update video that we've got to give you. And it probably would have come in, but we had John had the car accident. So that delayed us like a week, I think.
Yeah.
For just getting started.
Just weird things, man.
Man, just a bunch of weird stuff. I'm very glad to have had this cutie to paint. I did make his eyeball bigger.
Yeah.
I got a little crazy with him. But that's where we're at today. And really seriously, the world is strange right now, right? And when ocean water is bathtub temperature, and I really been thinking about that because I knew we were going to paint the sea turtle, and I've been thinking about that reality for these creatures and for us and how strange everything is for most of us. And for the sea turtles and for 99% of us, we're just in the world, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're able to stop and paint, I think today I just want to be a little appreciative and feel a little blessed that we all have this as an activity that we can do, and to think about these guys and that we have this nice space. And I've been thinking about that lately, like even as I've been frustrated this week and the week before and the week before that, going through stuff right now. That I have painting, that this is my life. This is what I'm getting back to. This is what I get to do. This is what I'm designing images for. It does put a a grounding energy on it and remind me that, yeah, it's crazy out there, but I'm very blessed. And I hope you're blessed too in that same way. If you can't paint right now and all you can do is come and watch, we are so happy to have you. We've had people go through that for years for various reasons and come back and paint later. So I want you to know that this is like the door's never shut on you. Mm-hmm. Come by and paint anytime. But if right now what you've got is, I can come and talk and hang and enjoy the process, your brain's still learning the techniques. So you haven't lost out on anything. And we'll always be here for you. Were there any questions that I missed before I got to go?
I think everyone's just sending so much love. They're so happy to see you. Really nice, guys. Thank you.
It's good to be back live.
Live.
So since you guys are back, we've got the ones you see on the schedule. John's finding questions. We've got the ones you see on the schedule coming up. Those are lives. How our show is going to go coming up between now and the end of the year and probably next year is you will have a plethora of shorts. We have a goal that we've set for ourselves. I don't want to state it out loud because I don't know if we're going to meet that goal. But let's just say on any given day, even if there's a big lesson, you could have a short tip. That'll be a 1-minute video that tells you something you need to know in a minute.
Yep.
Sometimes it might be a time lapse of a painting that we did, but mostly it should be techniques, tips, and interesting thoughts or ideas for artists. So don't skip the shorts when you get those notifications. Take that minute, give those a watch because they might be just the information that you needed in 1 second, like how to prep paper, my quick, fast, easy preference way of painting on paper, how I prep it, right? It's not the only way. It's just the way I do the most often and it works for me. Or how to use a brush or how to do a technique or how to mix a color. So watch for those. And those could be on any given day. Then, for sure, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, we're going to try to get paintings back on the schedule. We've got premieres. Those will be big 3-hoot lessons that we record ahead of time so you can have the mini book because those things are they're such a thing. There'll be live classes and live classes will be 2-hoot or 1-hoot. Okay, for the most part. That way I'm high energy for the whole thing.
Right.
And then we're going to have courses like 13 Days of Halloween, Cloud Quest, Gratitude Art, or Winter Wonder. Mm-hmm. So that's what you guys have going on. You literally could do something here, goal within the next couple of months every day.
Yeah.
Every day there'd be something new to see here. Hopefully we'll be at that schedule in the next couple, because I've got the retreat. If you want to paint with me in person, if you think that sitting down with me and saying, hey, this is my problem, and that me seeing that I could help you, I've got an opportunities coming up for that in August.
That we should check out the website for details on that.
You can check out the website for details. Mods can drop you the link. That is a big multi-day retreat. You eat with me. You paint with me. You will be so sick of me. You'll eat s'mores with me. There'll be games with me. I just did the meal plan today, which is just fantastic. I always try to think about all of you like in the meal plan. But we do if you guys are coming, remember to write your point of contact if there's any kind of like health or allergy issues that you guys have. Everybody who comes gets tons of stuff. Mm-hmm. We don't like to clean up, so you walk away with a lot of things.
There is a lot, and you know what? Our partners are very generous with us, and
generous.
They're like, just give everybody all the stuff.
So you want to tell us who's sponsoring us for this? And that they're sponsoring in that they help make sure we have our materials and our brushes and things. Raphael, for sure.
Sometimes they give us stuff. Sometimes they heavily subsidize stuff. Sometimes they're like, hey, by the way, we have some of this. Would you like it? And we're just...
And
and sometimes they just send stuff. They're like, give these to people.
We never know. So like sometimes we get pens, so we don't even know who it is because a lot of that comes together last minute. We had Edding in the past and Posca
and
Sennelier
and Fabriano.
And Fabriano paper.
Yeah, and
get you some Fabriano multimedia 9x12 pad multimedia paper. The 16. Where's it at?
I don't know. We have a whole bunch coming though. It's like we're gonna have a bunch to show.
Yeah. And I'm going to be showing you how to paint on it too. So that's the new thing for our new reality is on paper. Not just watercolor, but acrylic too. So there'll be those segments that are coming in. And it won't be one, you'll see several. So it'll be like how to prep the paper, all that stuff. And then you'll have shorts about it. If you just don't want to watch like a whole video, you're like, what was that again? That'll be there. So that's what's happening with us.
So much.
What is all this going to cost you? It will be free.
Yay.
We will have things like Cloud Quest will be a course at the school. That'll be coming up, and that will be a book in the school. So that would be like ways to support. If you're a patron, you get extra videos, weird behind the scene vlogs, strange rants, extra classes, sometimes doodles. It's just all the stuff. Like generally if I record, I do an after video for the patrons, and maybe I show them an extra technique or talk to them about a concept or idea. They have their own group on Facebook, and they have a bunch of their own lessons. So if you'd like to support us that way, that's something that you can do. And if you're a big patron, you can get a discount in the art store, which does help with shipping.
Yes, it does.
It does. And if you were one of our early adopters on our store, John's working on a way of saying thank you to the people who have hung in. We have another 6 months of growing pains.
Oh, well, you know what?
I don't know. Growing pains are growing pains.
It's hard to know, but we are really doing our best to be geared up for this fall season.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
Very, very much so. All right. I think I've got to go. Oh, goodness. I got to call my nail salon and say I'm going to be late. Go fix my nails. You guys be good to each other. Be good to yourselves. And I'm going to see you at an easel really soon. Bye-bye.